Perfect timing.
So are you guys item number 4? You are.
You gotta give him crap tonight. Oh, God, sorry.
You picked a really good time to be up here.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Good job.
Yes.
Two minutes. You can go early. Two minutes.
Well, I'm not gonna be able to text you.
Yeah, you can. You mean?
I'll just pass the
I'll be
note.
texting you with
I
trash.
don't think we've met.
When we both became alternates 6 months ago.
No, resigned.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you been here?
Unexpectedly.
Yeah, I missed the one time you filled in.
Kind of mentioned it about 30 days prior.
I was in Colorado.
Okay, ready? Is it close enough?
September.
My brain is just not with me.
This is enough to make anybody's brain go crazy.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll call the Tocqueville City Planning Commission meeting to order at, I just said 6 p.m. The first thing we'll have is the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Lee.
Everybody can stand. This flag, pledge allegiance. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, does any of the commissioners have any disclosures or declarations? I'm going to,
One of the items tonight
Okay.
happens to be my wedding event center. Is that
yep,
ready to bring that up now?
perfect.
Yes.
And then I want to see if we can amend the agenda to put item F2 up here and right after this disclosures. And then also I need to make a note that in the public hearing section E3, we will not be having the public hearing section for that. The information didn't get published 24 hours prior to being the hearing, so we'll skip that public hearing item. So if we can get the oath of office for our alternate done, then we'll go to the next page.
Please stand and raise your hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge
and that I will discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
So is F10 off the agenda too?
Yeah, we can use it in discussion probably or something. Let's see. So review the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes? No conflicts or issues? We'll accept a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from last month.
Motion in a second. Take a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to move into the public forum section of the meeting. This is for anything that's not on the agenda that you would like to bring to the attention of the planning and zoning. And please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody that wishes to speak to anything? Okay, reports. I don't have anything to report on this time. Does any of the commissioners have anything to report on?
I do. I just, last month we talked about the new state ordinance HB 82 regarding short-term rentals. I have not had a chance to read through all of it, but I didn't receive any comments from anybody either. So I'd just like to remind everybody to look through that and give me any comments that you may have prior to next month's meeting.
I don't remember you getting assigned to that.
So it's HB 82. If you don't know where to find it, let me know and I'll send you the directions.
I do remember that.
There are some changes in there. I don't know how they'll apply to our short-term ordinance, and I think I'll take them and bounce them off each other.
Okay, any other commissioners?
Okay, this time.
I forgot to introduce everybody to Kent Page, our new city manager. If anybody hasn't, I think I saw an unfamiliar face in here, that our new city manager's here. So we'll move to Mike Persimek. And Councilman Gary Chase. And Kent Page.
I'm excited to tell you I attended or participated in a Zoom meeting this morning. We're ready for your falls, the issues that are happening there. It's the only the various kinds of girl to try to accommodate visitors a bit better. They've done a really good job recently. They have about 5,000 visitors per month.
Oh, man.
So if we can try to capture some of that possible revenue to the town, that might be a good idea for the public to do that in certain locations. Be perhaps a good idea to pave portions of the road, provide some funding to reduce the dust. They looked at some alternative access roads, but they say they're going to be right now. There's a pretty good and it's public meetings are welcome to participate in this. It will be July 7th. At 8 o'clock, July 7th. 8 a.m. Yes.
I have a question about that. So when you say capture revenue, Tokerville doesn't have any commercial businesses, and we don't actually generate any revenue through like passerby. We don't have any gas stations. We don't so how does that behoove us to have that traffic and even increase that traffic by paving the road?
That's a good question. That's why I said there, I think the BLM provide some restroom facilities, maybe some pavement, just to straight on a little bit, it's great, it'd be $84,000. 2 layers of chip seal, that's $250,000.
Well, it used to be you had to have 4-wheel drive to get to Tokerville
Right.
Falls.
Still do.
Well, now you need a rock crawler. So
And that could be-
You think that would deter? You think that would deter some people? And I don't know. Maybe we could use those funds to actually put in something that actually generated revenue for the community.
I think the BLM and various times we would probably make more traffic towards the visit the falls. So we can work the best we can with them to maybe develop some commercial areas, benefit when we can from those tourists in the best interest of
So in the idea of parking, restrooms, that kind of thing, is that something that we would be able to pull money from, or does that go to BLM if they develop those areas?
Most of the road is on dealer property. There's a portion of the road that's on private property. From county guard to water to. But you're wanting this towards from the communities. It seems like there's some tourist dollars that counties are seeing for those. Receive some of those too. And then again,
Yeah. Well, I live on that road, and I can tell you I see those 5,000 people per month go by. So I know there's a need.
You need to
and-
set up a lemonade stand.
Well, so my kids have done that. We've actually done that. But, I've had people ask me in my own private residence, hey, can we park here? That kind of thing. So I do know that there's a need for that. It would be nice. I've always said it would be nice if we could capture some of this that's going on. So,
But you live here on this, so you can be a coordinator with your neighbors and try to make a better situation.
I'm all for that. So.
I was on part of that meeting this morning too, and they said over Memorial Day weekend, they had 400 or 500, you recall the exact number, between 400 and 500 on like Saturday
The
long.
road was just packed.
Yeah, so they've had traffic counters up at a few different places.
Wow.
We've been capturing this data. But they also discussed the possibility of, if there's a possibility to widen out Springs Drive, because it is such a narrow road and traffic hazard. We're very fortunate that BLM is taking interest in this project and kind of spearheading, or at least looking alternatives for it. It's becoming a problem up there.
Is that something we would ever look at as maybe getting the property from BLM so we could include it into our, where we can make money off of that? Is that, any ideas on that?
That's way above our pay grade.
Yeah, I don't know that's in the best
Yeah, I
interest of the public since the public owns the BLM.
Right.
So we want to maybe just take advantage of the commercial space that's prior to even getting there. It might.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we'll move into the public hearing section of the meeting. And item number 1 is public input is sought on a conditional use permit application submitted by Brian Beddoe for an overheight garage located at 1258 South Mulberry Drive. Tax ID is T-AHP-A-69. The current zoning is R112. Mr. Beddoe, are you here? Yeah. Seems pretty simple to me, but if you want to just step up to the microphone. You're just asking for a variance to build the garage taller, right?
That is correct. We put it at the back of the property there and did about, $27,000 worth of excavation. So it's buried into the back of the hill of my property. So there's actually only, on the back side of it, it's only a few feet above my upper lot anyway. And I apologize, the builder who's building my home is supposed to have checked into all this before we did all the excavation and everything. And I was told everything was okay until I hear back about the permit being bad. But yes, and I've checked out several different builders to see if there's a way that a different building can be built and still accommodate my motorhome. I have to have a 14-foot door in order to get my motorhome, my trailers through that door. So they're out of the weather. I got a $300,000 motorhome that I don't want the sun rotting and tearing up. And, I got lots of toys and keep them clean, keep it up in the garage, and, keeps everybody happy. And I just, like I said, explored with different options with different builders, and every one of them said the same thing. There's no way we can build this building with a 14-foot door in order to get the proper pitch on the roof. So I've been trying, and that's the word down. I mean, that's what it is. As far as the cupolas on top, I just did that for decoration. Those would come off, and I think it comes down to like 20 feet and a half, 21 feet, something in that general area. There's a precedence already set for it in the neighborhood. There's several of them in the neighborhood that's close to 10 feet taller than what I'm doing, but that's none of my business, and I don't care. But I'm totally okay with trying to accommodate whatever I can do to where it works, and I think I have. My neighbors are 100% on board with it. In fact, I thought they were going to be here tonight. They're totally okay with it. They're happy that I moved it to the back of the property. And as high as we elevated the property pretty high up off the street level. So most of it's not even, as you come down the street, I don't even think you're going to be able to see it for the first part. I have talked to 5 neighbors that told me they're 100% okay with it. So hopefully the letters all said the same thing. Thank you.
Is any other public comments for this item?
Brian, I have a question.
Yes.
So do you have anybody to the back of your property, any neighbors?
Negative, nothing.
Is that BLM property?
I think that's going to be part of the whole development going in back there. I'm not really sure what's involved with that. According to my neighbor, he said that actually the last house going to be built is going to be behind his property, and the plan showed nothing going in behind me at all. There'll be a road back there, but that's it. And when, I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for the public hearing on that item? Okay, we'll move to the next item. Is the public input is sought on a zone change application submitted by Maria Blanco for tax ID number T-7-A2. The current zoning is agricultural and the proposed zoning is RM-2 multifamily district. And are you guys are here too? If you'd like just to tell us a little bit about what you're doing, same thing.
Do you guys have the some? Okay, you want to take some? It's kind of like sorry. Kind of have an idea. This is kind of like a rough draft, kind of. But what we want to. Oh, here's the. So this is the current property right now. This is from the Google Maps, current property. So this is something like that. So this is Spring Drive right here. So Oscar Blanco. So we want to change the zoning because we want to build multi-family homes for the veterans. We currently have 2 properties where we're working with the Veterans Association, and we want to basically the project is to target veterans with disabilities and some with families. So our main thing is targeting the veterans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any questions or?
Nope.
Okay.
And any other public comment for that item? Okay, and we're gonna remove item E3 from the public hearing portion, so it'll take us down to the public hearing portion 4 through 12. And if I can, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I'd like to try to group them into one public hearing for each single thing, and that is public input as sought for ordinances 10-9, 10-10 through 10-11, 10-12, 10-13, 10-14, and it's a simple zone or ordinance change. It includes the terms public or quasi-public for essential use. Is there any public input on item E4 through E12? Okay, that will take us to business item F1. Discussion and possible approval of chairman and chair pro tem. Just want to flip quarters, draw straws. Am I able to make motions on this? section now? Very good. So we need to pick a chairman and a chair pro tem and complete a vote on it. Any motions?
There's several ways that you could do that. You could ask for nominations to make the nomination, or a commissioner could just recommend a name, single name, and vote
Good time to do this. It's weird.
That's because you're in the hot seat, but I'm going to nominate not to be it. So I'm going to nominate you to be it.
Second nomination.
Can I motion Joey Campbell?
Okay. So we just vote on that then.
Motion and second.
Do I have a motion and a second? We'll take a vote.
Sean did.
Sean did. Brian?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I already eyed, but I'll eye again.
Okay, now we'll go for Chair Pro Tem, and I would nominate Greg Turner.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Any other nominations?
We have a motion for a nomination and a second, and we'll take a vote.
Anthony made the motion. I'll second
I
that.
made the motion.
I second.
I made a motion too, with, as I said it, so I thought you were seconding it, sorry. Okay, so you can make the motion in the
Or,
second.
no,
and then
I second that.
You seconded it? Okay, so I made a motion, you second, and we'll take a vote.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, F1 is complete. Then we'll move to items F3 through F7. I didn't see anything on them. There's no complaints on any of these properties, and everybody has their current business licenses. Does anybody else have any?
Through 19, like you mean everything?
No, it's,
3 through 7.
3 through 7, okay.
3 through 7 is what I got blocked, and if you want to pull them out individually, we can.
I make a motion, we just approve items 3 through 7.
Have a motion
I second.
and a second. We'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, that brings us to item number 8, discussion and possible recommendation on conditional use permit application submitted by Brian Beto for overheight garage located at 1258. I already read that information, and I have a couple questions about this. And the one question is, so it's a conditional use permit, but it's supposed to be renewed every year. He doesn't need to have a renewal on this conditional use permit once this is completed. Is that correct?
Yeah.
We'll just drop off and, okay, and then,
What is the current code, Mike, for the height?
It's 35 feet. Well,
It's
sorry, no,
max.
it's up to 18.
18 and then 35 max.
and then, I have another small question for you in the business section here is that if I did the calculations on your plan, it was 17'8", and then it looked like 8'10" of trusses, somewhere around 26'6" without the cupolas. Does that sound about right to you?
So, and I part of it's my ignorance. I'm not real good at this. So 17/8 the walls, and then the pitch. I thought that's what that 3.5 was, which would have made it 21 point.
Which is the 3 and 5 pitch. If
Yeah.
you scroll down to the trusses show that it's 8'10".
Okay, then you would be correct. Yes.
So it is under 35 feet.
Oh yes, way yes.
If they were another 9 feet or something, then maybe.
I think they're 3.5.
And
What is
then
What is that total?
Less than 30.
26.
Just under 30.
Still well underneath the 35.
Yeah, and I did look at it, and the cut in the back looks to be about 18 feet roughly or something in that nature. Yeah, somewhere.
Right. Yeah, I think it 16 to be honest, but yeah.
From the back side, 18 feet of this would just be disappeared. But And then the only other thing I saw is I think your zoning is actually R120. I don't think that's that big of a deal, but it's R112 on everything here. And I don't know if that needs to be changed for the conditional use permit. I think that whole subdivision's R120. The R112 stops at Mulberry Drive right there.
Can I ask what that is?
It's just a different square footage of your lot.
Okay.
So. And then the only other question I had was do you know what the actual floor level is from the height of the curb?
I do not. I could absolutely get it. So the floor of the shop is from the ground or from the sidewalk is what you're asking.
I think your house is.
I think it's going to be 12 feet. Yeah.
That answers all my questions about this. Does anybody else have any other questions on
Can we have a ride?
Yeah, absolutely. Come on.
So do we, is there standards that we judge us against? I can read them out if not. Or that we,
for the conditional use permit?
yeah, for the standards of review. Says it will not result in traffic congestion and traffic hazards. It has adequate and necessary access for safety services. It will not exceed the obligations and/or financial capability of the city. It will not require a level of community facilities and services greater than that which is available. It will not cause air, water, groundwater, light, or noise pollution. It does not have critically expansive soils, high water table, slope instability, or other soil problems. It will comply with the minimum requirements of the zone in which the use is to be established and with all of the requirements of this title. It will be compatible with the character of the neighborhood and surrounding structures in scale, mass, and traffic circulation. And the applicant will provide adequate financial security for the project.
So how many feet from the sidewalk to the front of the garage?
140 something.
And a 12-inch raise, I think he's within that limit, right?
I just 146 to be honest, but I don't want to lie. It's 140 something.
I don't see any things of concern, and as he stated earlier, there's already a precedence out there.
There's 5 or 6 buildings in there that I think they're already over that too.
Yeah.
And they all look really well. They're really good, so.
So,
Okay,
And we are spending quite a bit of money to match the house, so it's the shop and the house will match, for eye appearance.
okay.
I think there's any CC lines or anything out there.
That's up to them too. Any other discussion? Thanks for bringing that up. Forgot to bring up the standard. Okay. Someone ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval for item E8.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that takes us to item F9, discussion and possible recommendation on a zone change application submitted by Maria Blanco. There is,
Did you have another one that zone from Maria?
so the applicant is seeking to change the parcel T-7-A-2 located on 700 East Springs Drive from agricultural to RM2. The criteria that we're going to go through is, well, I guess I can do the Kirkville Fire said the dwelling units may need to be sprinkled, and pursuant to section 10-8-3-A3, the planning commission shall convene on a public hearing on the request, and after such hearing shall conduct a fact finding to determine if the application meets the criteria for the following zone map amendment. The standards for review of a zone map amendment are specified below. And what we've done in the past is we can just have a discussion on each one of these 9 items, and then we can figure out what we want to do after that. But number 1 is, will the amendment address a recognized and demonstrated need in the community? And I think we should, I know we have a plan here, but what we really need to remember is we're just doing a zone change. We're not approving preliminary plat or anything. So we need to just focus on the zone change. So with this first one here is, does anybody have any comments about number 1 here?
Is this considered low-income housing?
I'm sorry.
Is it considered low-income housing?
I don't think it is. No.
So the first item is, does it demonstrate a need in the community? I think you could argue that either way. I'm a little biased because I'm a veteran as well, but I think there's a need, especially with the growth that's coming to Tokerville on the horizon. I think there's a need in the community.
And it's ag use, so do we have a need for housing over agricultural right now in Tuckerville? Or are we skinnying out our agricultural
Well, this would be a zone change.
From Ag 2.
from ag to building? So that's what I'm asking. Are we taking away, or does anybody have any stats on that?
No clear avenue on that one.
Mike, you always know the answers. What do you got? Anything?
I guess it depends on what you look at. Particular question.
The way I kind of look at it is where it's located. It's kind of being used for ag, but not really for ag. So,
Not so much.
yeah.
There's 8 goats there.
Is that true?
Did you count them all?
Yeah, there's,
Well, there's 8 goats and 15 trees.
Lance says
Sound true?
Lance, are you raising your hand?
To answer your question, whether it's going to be promote income housing, the Vietnam vets, the reason with that, the reason they're doing is they can't afford housing.
Right.
So there is no housing available for them to be part of the state. So that's what's going to propose this situation. Yes, it is providing for lowering for the vets, not for the park.
Well, if, you know,
Subsidized by the federal government.
You said it was low-income housing. It was for veterans who couldn't afford homes.
Correct.
It's also for disabled veterans and their families. So it's kind of a big mix of.
Right.
And I'm a veteran as well, and so I definitely feel the same way. I do everything I could for a veteran. What I see, and if we're calling it a disabled vet or a place where we can help take care of that,
Right.
Agriculture allows for that in their conditional use.
Okay.
But to go to RM2 kind of opens it up to, okay, you leave, and now we have
I see what you're
just apartments
Right.
in that area. So just for me, if it's a disabled, and we've got a facility that's taken care of and all of that.
So that, sorry to cut you. So that's what we're kind of proposing. We would definitely want to stick to the disabilities. We want to provide a show service. We want to provide, basically attend to their needs.
So in that case, when I look at it, it falls within. I mean, if you look at the agricultural, you can see an additional use. It is for assisted living and disabled and that type of thing. So I'm not quite sure that we actually need to change that zoning to do what you're looking to do.
Okay.
I don't.
But
Should we? Are we getting off track? Are we okay?
the question, like, as far as if we don't change and it stays in agriculture, like, does it still affect like how many units we can have, and that's where we're.
Yeah. So you instead of having separate units, it would be similar to what they do now in the school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I see. Okay.
Around, but
Right. And here in this, it's all single families where we have various different families where sometimes we have one bedroom, which is one bedroom. There's some that are 2 bedrooms where we have a family where So that's where it's because I believe in agriculture it would be like one big like just dorms or kind of thing, or yeah, so that's right.
Okay. Does that answer number one? Okay, number two, will the amendment be compatible with the character of the neighborhood and surrounding structures in use, scale, mass, and circulation?
Is it a single? What are the structures you want to put on there? Just
Kind of like a rough draft there, but it's just single families. Some are one bedroom and some are like two. But that way you gotta kind of get a general idea of.
That's one of the things I was kind of saying is like, we probably need to focus on the zone change and what can be allowed in that zone change instead of,
Right.
you gotta look at all avenues of what that zone can bring in instead of just a veteran's home. So it's gonna make a dense area in that area.
what is that was across the street? Is that a single family too? What is that?
Across the creek from them,
It's
Oh,
Ash Creek Ranch.
it's presently,
The
Boys.
boys' school, yeah, the boys. Well, there's one across and there's one on the side, right? Or
There's a boys' school across the river and then
right next to it, right? Yeah, the girls, yeah.
And they are residential, so they live there.
Permitted uses for
Okay, and then number three, will the amendment result in an over-intense use of land or excessive depletion of natural resources? Have any comments on that? Number four, did you,
Other than just maybe Mike knows sewer and those types of things, do we have enough? Is the tank big enough to handle that? Because I know that's kind of the end of the road.
yeah, so they said
I'm
it's a
sorry.
requirement that the sewer is available to the property.
Available, is it adequate?
I think it's the biggest consideration for the use of the roads now would be your access. Sewer and driveways, so they go in.
with those 5,000 people listening to Niagara Falls a month. Yeah, it's gonna increase the traffic up there. And that is a concern for the community. It's gonna be addressed at some point.
Staff meeting, the fire district had a question, they only allow 31 units on a single access. So those are probably pretty close to that.
Yeah, pretty close.
I don't know how they would address the weight limits there. Whether they would address that as a similar city.
But they did, in staff comments, they did say they were okay with it as long as it had sprinkling, right?
They said it might, might need sprinkling depending on the liability.
And there's not room for any more up there. Not much room. Yeah.
Okay, number five, will the amendment require a level of community facilities and services greater than that which is currently available? I think we kind of already talked about that one. Will the amendment result in undue traffic congestions and traffic hazards? That's what you're talking about. Does anybody have any?
It's certainly going to increase it, but, you know, it's talking about a shuttle service.
And that's what we're trying to decrease a little bit with the shuttle service. I mean, some are like wheelchairs and
Completely full with everybody driving.
right.
18 more people, 18 more cars roughly. I don't know if that'd be considered undue. An increase for sure, but I would consider it undue.
Okay, and then will the amendment cause significant air, odor, water, light, or noise pollution? And on that, will the amendment be otherwise determined to the health, the safety, and welfare of present or future inhabitants of the city. And number 9, does the amendment meet the requirements of the general plan?
I had a question about 8. So the people that are going to be staying at this facility, they're getting government, it's federal money that is funding this project?
It's my understanding from both, correct? Like the state and yeah.
Yes, sir. So that's a lot of people don't have a physical disability or mental issues. As far as when I say mental issues, it's hard to keep a job. Financially, a lot of them have to stay in college. Alicia Erie is somebody who controls their money. They get so much money every month. They have a gentleman called Alicia Erie who pays their bills and also pays any expenses. They get a lot of meat or food, clothing, and everything. It's all a lot of. And, so they are pretty controlled. They're on a budget, and a lot of them just don't know how to take care of money like a lot of us, get in that situation. But because they're a veteran, there's a lot of them not be homeless, taking care of the government. Like, this is the best way the government will provide them their needs and make sure they're taken care of. So these people are guaranteed income, as far as the facility is concerned. They also, if you look at the plans in the long term, they actually want to put not a restaurant, but the commissary there for the people that might
I was just thinking about 8 and wondering if it's government funded, if these people are going to be screened for felonies and things like that.
Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes. Yes.
So no convicted rapists, child molesters, and
No.
things like that we're going to be bringing
Yes.
in.
No. Yeah. No.
Has much to do with the zone change yet.
Well, it said 8,
Yeah, I know.
so
Well,
that's
yeah.
our community. I'm just curious what we're bringing into our community here.
My concern still calls back a little bit with, in 5 years, if you guys sell it, and then you have, the way it's laid out, I think is laid out for a very small number of cars because you can have a shuttle service and that's nothing against you guys, but if you sell in 5 years, now we have a high density zone and in a neighborhood that has small structures, and you can have more traffic at that time, or if it comes into a nightly rental or something in that nature that changes the complete layout of the property, because it doesn't mean just because you're doing a veteran home that it's going to be assigned to that.
Right.
It's
No,
not,
I understand that. But right. That's what I was going to ask. Like,
Contract.
and that's what I was going to get to. So right now with a lot of them, right, we do have like a 5-year contract with them where we have to, for instance, provide like, for instance, a condominium in St. George. We have to.
Misunderstood.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah.
Money into this facility, or just so for the
Fine.
structures and all those things? So I would imagine that they would say, hey, we're going to help you finance this. This has to stay.
Exactly. Yes. And then that's what it is.
Do we know how long that requirement is? Or I mean, I don't.
It's well, I mean, and then that's what they generally would want, like 5 years. But I mean, it can all change. But that's
That's what
right.
they're not. So they're hoping, like I said, there needs to be a conditional use permit or whatever needs to be stays in the facility for the veterans. Because that's their intention, for the outfit. Would it be possible for the city to get a copy of that agreement or those requirements? Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
Chairman, we also consider deed restriction.
say it again?
We can also consider deed restriction, where it basically regulates what along with what they've already got established.
Yes.
Once we make a recommendation for the zone change, then it falls out of our hands. Okay. Any other conversation on it? No? I'd entertain a motion. Kathleen?
I think there's still a lot of questions here on just the long-term possibility of what could happen up there.
You can,
So if we had a conditional use permit, does that conditional use permit, that doesn't limit it to a veteran's property, does it? Because a conditional use permit's,
Still a conditional use permit on the ag zone. The ag zone only allows one dwelling unit per acre.
it'd have to go with the
You
zoning.
have to change the zoning.
So if we change the zoning, then he's got to apply, then they need to apply for a conditional use permit for the veterans home?
I think what he is showing on the renderings probably conforms to RM2 zoning.
But then RM2 zoning also allows for multi-units. If this fell through, the zone changes there and
Can we put, like, well, I guess we can't put limits on that change then, can we? Like,
we're just thinking, we'll just make a
strictly a zone
recommendation
change.
to the city council.
that's it?
The contract that was just used up the last time, it is 15 per contract.
I motion to approve with the conditions of giving mention to city council on this particular plot. And we submit for their plans. Can I do that?
We'd have to ask Mike or something. If we can, not on condition. Yeah.
We could pass on the council your comments. So they were your concerns.
I'm not gonna voice them at the next meeting.
I like what it's trying to do up there. I think it meets the requirements that we looked at. Maybe there's a few things in there that are up for debate.
And I understand the concerns, but I mean, to be honest, I mean, we're doing it for the long run. I mean, it's 15 years, and that was when we first started initiating getting into this. That was one of our concerns, and we said it was like bringing in like convicted felons and rapists, and I mean that was one of our concerns. So when they guaranteed that and they do the screening and they go through, I mean, it just makes the process easier for us, and it kind of eliminates the headaches. And it's why we want to do it. Just bring it here.
So I think the biggest concern that I can see, well, I don't know, I won't speak for everybody, but in 15 years,
Right.
some of us will still be sitting here. Maybe.
And I hope I'm still here too. Like, I mean, right.
And then whatever goes in there next, because we changed the zone.
Of course. Right.
Is that right? So if there can be some kind of stipulation protecting that so that we don't cause issues for future.
And I'm all for that. I mean,
I have a question for you, and I apologize if it comes across a little naive. Could we not do a variance for a zone to allow more than one dwelling? No.
Not for ag.
I just read it before, but that's fine.
Oscar, I don't know that it necessarily affects the zone change or not, but what's going to happen to the house on the property?
like we're saying right now, we're trying to kind of figure out, and this is whole planning. Like for instance, we were thinking about keeping it and just kind of renovating it a little bit, and then I mean, there's a lot of talks of what we can do. I mean, our main thing is to kind of accommodate the most that we can with what the permits us to do.
Once we start that project, that house will be demolished. It's all going to go in 4 days. It's not going to go in business. So the project will all
Were you talking about like once we start or like right? Oh, I didn't know if. Oh, long term. Oh, okay.
Well, I'll make a motion, we recommend approval with comments. You know, that we pass along comments at the meeting, but I recommend approval for the zone change.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote.
Aye.
Nay?
Nay.
Aye.
Okay. That takes us to item number F10, and that's the ordinance 1019G-2G3. We can't take action on this because it wasn't presented in the public hearing in time, but we can have a discussion if anybody saw anything that needs to be changed on that draft so that we can have it ready for next meeting. And just to back up on that a little bit is my computer's not working well. The reason that we're trying to make a change to this ordinance is there's some property lines inside of the city where the property owner owns both sides of the property, and they want to make it easier to make them one parcel. Is that correct? Without going through subdivision and all that kind of stuff.
What we found out was the county recently changed their process on the recording lot line adjustments in the recorded plats. And when they made that change, they put their requirements contrary to our code. So what we're doing is we're cleaning up our ordinance that says our process is okay for adjacent parcels that are described by meets and bounds, but if the parcels are in the subdivision, then we follow the subdivision. Basically, so the recorded flats are paid, and then down at the bottom, we have the segments. So it's, adjacent party, part of the recorded plat, and change title, portion of the parcel that all in the procedure development in section 1019C4 F this code.
Okay, I think that's pretty clear to me for discussion item anyway. Does anybody else see any issues with that?
Has this been through the attorney's now?
That is from attorney.
This has been through the attorney?
Yeah.
I don't see any concerns with it.
Okay, so we'll put that on next public hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have
We
it
have it too.
tonight, did we?
That's not what you just now, it's already tested and then you say
So we probably need to make a motion to table this item and
I'll make a motion we table it. till
10, how far does it down does it go?
just
next-
F10.
That's just F10, yeah. I'll make a motion we table F10 till next month.
Motion
I'll
to-
second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, next thing is business item F11 through 19. Discussion and possible recommendation on ordinances 10-9 through 14M1. And it's an amendment to review the process which allows adjoining, oh, that's the wrong one. An ordinance amending the permitted and conditional uses of agricultural zone, single-family zone, multifamily zone, multiple use districts, highway commercial, and neighborhood commercial. It affects pretty much every zone here, but it's a very simple, I don't know, did everybody look at it? It's, and I do have a couple of questions for you guys on that. It's basically striking public services and adding quasi,
Public and quasi.
public and quasi, yeah. And it struck out the cemeteries in there. Does the public and quasi-public cover cemeteries?
I thought that was ag.
Because, what's that?
I thought that was ag, wasn't it?
Well, I'm kind of blanking all of them together because it crosses it out of ag, it crosses it out of R120, which our cemetery is in R120 now.
So it's not necessarily include cemetery. You could have it.
Doesn't matter what zone.
On agricultural, you can get a conditional permanent use to have a cemetery and churches and things, right?
That's what this ordinance changes the template to do. I think what happened is this particular piece of property now is in a residential zone and it doesn't have a conditional use and it's not a permitted use in the residential zone. So somebody lodged a complaint that we were housing construction equipment, since we have a backhoe out here once in a while. And they basically said, if you guys can't live by the ordinance, we're not going to, so we can have construction equipment in the residential area. So that's what this is. It's an attempt to make everything legal as far as government and quasi-government.
It's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right?
Sewer stations, those kind of things.
So my question is, if we take cemeteries out of them, a few ordinances that it strikes, and we already have it in them.
I actually don't remember us discussing taking cemeteries out.
I think that was a recommendation by the attorney.
He just said that to take all of the public uses and just strike them all with public and quasi-public. So you might have to do that.
So I would hate to take the cemeteries out of there when we have it in,
You have a question on the cemetery.
and R120, because our current zoning there is R120, where the cemetery is now, so.
But it would be public and quasi-public.
Yeah.
Under the new definition, so there would be a full cemetery. The problem we would have is that somebody has a piece of private property and they do a private cemetery.
And can they ask for a variance, like, because it does, no, you can't unless it's listed, right? You can't get a conditional use for that unless it is listed in it, so. So that's my only question about them that I saw any, I don't know if anybody else saw anything in there. It's not a big change, but
The cemetery under conditional use and ag.
yeah, that's what I'm asking, is if the public or quasi-public building for essential public services, if cemeteries would be covered underneath that in all them zones.
Do you have to specifically state that it's a private cemetery, or just the cemetery?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what it earthly cemetery is. Yeah, I can't.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, instead of we were redundant and saying every single, specific public use, just to say public use.
Blanket statement.
Yeah.
Can you scroll down a little bit?
What you've done was, you have a deck where you each, oh, okay. The other comment I would have is cemeteries could be private.
Does it have to specifically state private cemetery?
It would probably just be better to leave cemetery and then it could cover
Yes,
anything, right?
If you wanted to put under conditional uses, private cemeteries, that would be. But public cemetery is covered with.
And the others. Does anybody else seeing anything?
Cemetery was always under conditional use, right? It's not permitted use.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why I just changed it back, if you guys want to look here,
We can make that change in the motion if we want to leave private cemeteries in there.
We don't have the words private, because it already says
All those red lines were snow, right? He did that.
cemetery. I did some of them, and then he added
Okay. Everybody's seen what they want to see on that? Any questions?
I don't understand why we're voting on this. Why are we making changes?
So we need to add the public or quasi-public buildings for essential use just because this building is in a residential. So we're gonna change all the zones as we're doing it. So each zone is gonna be labeled. So like, let's say they want to put a sewer treatment plant or a water pump station down the road, then a city utility can actually go in any zone and do that. So that's what we're doing, is we're just covering all them, but
And that would cover for everything that's now existing as what? R120, is this R120 that we're on?
yeah, so each one, it says, it's residential neighborhood planning, yes, business and manufacturing zone, light industrial, it's covering every single zone. That's why I'm blanketing 11 and through 19.
Yeah, that is, there's nothing else left out, right? That's every zone we're changing.
Just them two sentences.
Okay. Okay.
And then if we change to private cemeteries, then that would change that also.
that's just
Ag, and if we wanted to switch it in R122, or if you wanted to keep cemeteries in any other zone, we could do it in there too.
Any zones of cemetery,
Yeah, is it
It's only in two.
is it conditional in R120 and in ag?
Industrial, it's in.
Yeah. Which one's that one? Yeah, I think it's probably in every one of them. Like I said, that was my only question, is if we needed to leave any of them somewhere. Someone wanted to make their own little private family cemetery.
Cemetery now is in a R2 zone.
R120. Should have looked down how many they were in when I asked that question. But
Can we go back to multifamily? It's not in there either. Parks?
Yeah, so that's what I do. So instead of naming every single public use, we just check all those out, clean it up, and just name public use.
Okay.
So we want to do private cemetery and.
I think we should keep it in ag. Do you guys see any reason to keep it in the other ones? Or do you want to keep it in some of the residentials? If we could, you can just say the residential ones and it would cover multifamily, single family, and cover.
It's
Do you want
interesting.
it in commercial? Because commercial would be,
the cemeteries in R120.
probably should be,
I don't know what the other cemetery is.
Yeah.
they're in Louisiana like that. Just kidding. Yeah.
What if they were in a churchyard? I know Utah doesn't do that very much. It's really big in other parts of the country though.
We could just simply say, just put private in front of each section where it's at right now and remain the same.
Cemeteries with private.
Yeah.
Cemetery as a conditional use for private.
So if it goes in as a conditional use permit, then there's an opportunity to approve or deny as the request comes through.
Yeah. So if we just said that we wanted to keep private cemetery everywhere cemetery was in a conditional use. Then we could continue pretty easy.
And that's where it's at.
It's up, yeah. Okay. Anybody want to make a motion on that? Can we make the motion for all 11 items or all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 items or?
Specify the amendment.
Yes. Anybody want to try on that motion?
I'll try it. We make a motion that private cemeteries be left as conditional use in all of the zoning ordinances.
Do recommend approval.
From F11 through F19.
Okay. Have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, that takes care of our business items, and that'll take us into the discussion items of the meeting. This discussion item I put on here for planning commission training, and what I was hoping that we could do between Mike or Kent, and like there's a lot of these things out there that are like the online training, and Ruth sent me a bunch of links to the meetings, and there's a lot of online training, but what I would like to see us do, if we can, is just spend like 5 to 10 minutes in the discussion portion, and basically just teach everybody and you can just take one simple example and just go through a zone changes of what you can and can't do as a planning commission, and what the criteria to follow, and where everybody, we have a lot of new people, and we're probably gonna have a couple more maybe, and so I want to try to get everybody to where we can make these meetings a little bit more efficient and everybody knows what they're looking at. So if we took like the top 7 items that we always discuss, like maybe a preliminary plat and a final plat, the next one, or something, and just make a little template of what we're supposed to do, and we can discuss it and discuss things that come up and the problems that arise, and then keep that little template so that we can create a little training thing for new people too for the future. I don't know if that's a possibility. That's my idea for, kind of getting some training and getting everybody back up to and it could be even that maybe Ruth shows us the SharePoint, how to make sure that everybody's using the SharePoint one time, or, something easy like that. But if we just spend a little bit of time on it, just so that everybody can get up to speed, that was my discussion item for the commission. Does anybody have any ideas on that?
I think it's needed. It'd be a great idea.
I think that's great. No information is bad information.
Joey, I do know there is training available in the cities and towns.
That's what I said.
Yeah, we
almost need to put into effect the budgets and then next year, and make sure the team is aware of that. If that's something that you want to do this year,
We're
maybe.
talking about sending.
Well, they'll come here, it's good to make your cost. But
There's videos on that.
if they do have some.
There's a lot of videos, but what I think we could use more of is the practical, like you just put a scenario up here and you go through the 9 criteria for a zone change and what the common problems are, and and we don't have to spend a bunch of time on it, but I think it would just get everybody on the same page and reference the codes where we need to look at. That might change eventually, the code numbers that, but when we don't have any training, and I think it was, I don't know the category, but then there's cities that require that training that Kent was telling us about. And so, what's that?
First class.
Yeah.
Plus, it'll give
Way
Mike
down
something to
there.
do.
Right?
Well, the state is coming out with more requirements for planning commissions. And we're taking it up leash.
Yeah.
Well, we're also going to be experiencing some severe growth here soon.
Some big growth, and it could be that if we have an item coming through that we see in a staff meeting, that we could maybe get ahead of it and do a little bit of training if we haven't seen that on this, this commission anyway.
The current schedule that the city's got the meetings on, it's pretty tough to squeeze.
Training.
The work itself, it won't want training. I mean, it's pretty recommended, you know. As far as my reviews, I try and get those out the first of the week of the meeting. So, my hope is that if I get them out on Monday, the planning commission members have at least 2 evenings or 2 days that they can read through, and I try to put in the code references that we need to go around and look at the codes and see what the state.
Yeah, and maybe zone change isn't a really good topic, but like a preliminary plat and what we can expect, and just like an expectation, so that everybody comes here and it's just like, well, yeah, we've gone through that, and this is what we're going to be doing, and then just a few things like that. And it doesn't have to be a big presentation, but just something that can get the minds moving. And
Something like you did with the NPDO, 6 months ago, whenever it was. That was very informative. Helped us out.
Doesn't need to be a big single meeting that you have, what you collectively decide, what you want the topic to be. Give us, if we can't be, this is what the topic is that we're going to put on the agenda. Because I think once that's identified as a possibility, it might be 15, 20 minutes on it, rather than just 5.
yeah, it could be. Yeah.
So, but at least, and if you don't have anything that someone wants to have some training on, or you don't have any training on, just dump it on there, and do general training, and here's the topic, and you assignment.
And I think someone might have volunteered to help us with that already a little bit. I'm not sure.
So, that's just, my thoughts.
Cool. How do we proceed forward with that then? What's this?
You mentioned that we're
I'm just picking things out of there, I mean, I'm just things that have come up more often than not, or,
That's our discussion about the falls as proposed negotiated tax. So we foresee the future where you kind of draw the line of what are health and safety issues coming as a creation out there. We got to find another alternative, we can associate with proper, what assurances the city has in place that they change the zone. No, if you do a zone change, there's no guarantees that it will have a state of measures.
I think that was, one of the most important things discussed tonight, that, nobody really thought about, until you guys will be discussing it, is what happens if it fails. And now the zone has changed, so you weren't just making a recommendation for a veteran's home, but you were actually changing the zone. You're going to look at, the fact that, these things develop, saying what happens if that's closed, then yeah, you're going to have an apartment complex. And so, those are things that are learning situations that we have, and a lot of times we learn as we just even go through these and work things out. So it was a big key ingredient to think about, that may have been.
There was actually word to what's the worst case scenario? If there's emergency vehicles need to get up there, or aperture rooms, the fire department should wonder what's not going to be an issue. Nobody, it's not popular to put your foot down and say no. It's not easy to say no.
Yeah.
Yes. So those are big questions that we should think about. All the traffic up there, Narrow Road, disabled road up there. Have an ambulance with the fire department. less low risk, but less risk.
So would you do you want to start with like a preliminary plat thing maybe next time? We'll just do a little presentation on that. Yeah, and then we'll maybe do the final plat, and then we can pick something after that, or pick something and just see where it goes and see how it works. I think it might help, because Jason hasn't been through very many things either, and and there's still a lot I need to learn. That's for dang sure. So.
Well, if Mike's going to work on that presentation to see all looking to do it.
It'd be good learning for you too. Okay. Does anybody else have any other?
Just comment, these mechanisms, the things that are attached to the agenda, a lot of these things, these things were given out, this was done in 2015, one in 2017, one in 2019. This one's for a bed and breakfast, so we changed the term to make it turn. This one says 2 guests per room, that's the case anymore. So if we just merely remove this, we remove this document, which really doesn't reflect the current ordinance.
Grandfathered in.
But we renewed the conditional uses that was applied to that permit.
They're grandfathered in.
Their permit stays at that.
Grandfathered in. So the question is, does the individual that has this property, do they want to grandfather it, or do they want
Want to
to
update?
change? You know,
So if they want to change, they're going to have to put in an application to have it.
they have a change.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's just something to look at. And some of the conditional use requires inspections and some may not require inspections. So I don't know, I just saw them, it was just across the board there. And I didn't know if there's a resolution that we had for that.
And if you read the staff comments on the, especially the short-term rental for bed and breakfast, there's a wide variance to each operator.
Okay, food for thought.
Thank you. Okay. Any more discussion on that item?
So we're gonna add that to the agenda for July?
Yeah, we'll just add a little training for discussion item. And if something happens and we need to, we're not ready for a presentation, we can always, some discussion, so. Oh, you mean as far as training?
Yeah.
Or were you asking if we want to just add the training portion to the?
I was talking about the training portion that we were talking about.
Yeah, so just the
So-
training, not the conditional use. We can start, if you want to start it with conditional use, you could, but
So I think you guys want the flat code.
yeah, we can do it.
That's Kent and Mike, you guys are on that, okay.
Mike's not really happy.
I know, Mike's like, great, I don't have a life, just go ahead and.
He
give me
does,
stuff
you
to
do put a lot of really good information in the staff comments, and it really does help. But when you just see a staff comment on your first time up here, or, or your first time doing any of it, you're just like, okay. So if you had a little more background of why that's there and what it, I think it'll help a lot. So. Okay, let's move to G2 on the sign regulations.
What you looking at me for? I was assigned a couple of months ago to look at the sign regulations, and my first go through, I felt like there was some redundancy, and I read Springdale and Santa Clara's sign codes as well. And there's different wording, but I think they really have the same intent. The two things that I did find that I thought we probably should add are we put in item 4 and 5, because our code did not specifically say that signs had to be, if it was a structure, that it had to meet the building code, and also they indicated that it has to meet the National Electrical Code. If it's a sign that has electric lighting, or so I just thought it would be appropriate to add those. It's not much change, but our code before only indicated that it had to be according to construction specifications, or had to meet a final approval, but it didn't specify in there uh, what codes. So the building code and the National Electrical Code, I think, could be added. I ended up not taking anything out. Different language, but basically they say the same thing. Tocqueville's sign code has a couple of pages of just definitions. Some of those I thought we might take out, but you know, if you want the public to see what they can and can't do, you just about have to define all those terms. So that's kind of where I left it. So unless you've also looked at that code and have some things that you want to add, I don't know that it's 21 pages. I don't think we want to read through it in this meeting, but
I briefly looked through some of that stuff, and there's a lot of information in there. And I think what Dan was wanting us to do is try to condense it some, right?
yeah.
That was the
And so I added
the total
to,
goal. That's okay.
yeah, there's lots of ways to say things. I didn't evaluate each paragraph and try to determine if it could be said in a shorter, more condensed version. And that's possible. I could still work on that.
Did anybody else look at that at all, or just this correction?
When was the last time this was revised?
I don't have that.
This is revision for commercial signs.
We did did something with the design standards that we referenced to that, if I remember correct. But yeah, I don't think.
I'd have to look at the original code and see. I'm not sure.
So does the design standards,
I think it just references the sign ordinance, and so
are they synchronized?
I think that's one thing that we.
That's the thing I use to think about here.
I think Dan's question was how the new commercial design standards relates to the sign ordinance. Because the new commercial design standards we adopted here at the original had some specific language and signs that you just wanted to make sure, I think, that there wasn't a conflict between the new standard and the existing.
He didn't tell me that. He didn't give me, didn't tell me to compare those two, so I didn't look at them.
Do you have a copy of the design standards?
No.
They're in
Yeah,
chapter
they
chapter
could be
21.
there.
They're in chapter 21. 2012. Do you want to? Yeah, the last one I see in here is on 12. So, do you want to compare them two and see,
Sure.
make sure they don't
So
overlap
compare
each other?
1022 to 1012.
Yeah, just the sign portion.
It's
Yeah. Hey, some of these take I don't know how long the animal ordinance took, but it was a long time. Maybe just the sign information in chapter 21 compared to chapter 22.
Okay.
But I do think,
The sign orders address to night sky language.
It doesn't.
we have,
Well,
The light pollution?
the only thing it does, it just says that any sign that have lighting, the light source has to be hidden, which
maybe we should
could
put
be
something
hidden
in there
and
to,
still be violating the night light,
maybe we better put
bright
a reference
skies.
And I
to the,
I
to
had
the,
some stuff in that discussion about dark sky. They like the principles, but they felt a little complicated that far to be certified with dark sky.
Well, in Tocqueville, it's a concern because there's not a lot of outside lighting, but St. George and Islands, the whole sky's lit up, so I don't know.
I think the city council, the same as I am, so we're promoting it, but we're not going to be an official dark sky. So
If Lake Powell can do it, we can do it. Can't even see their dock. It's like 10 o'clock and we can't see anything. They think that's okay, so.
So chapter 24 is the lighting, so maybe we should just maybe even put something in there to make sure that you're meeting the requirements of the exterior lighting. That would be another addition so that we can refer both of them back to each other.
All right, I'll look at that.
Downward directed rather than upward.
Right.
Yeah, and for light pollution, they have a time or a timing on it, right? You can
Yeah.
have it a certain time.
Remember what, I think it was like
Yeah,
11.
and
Like a- like
we
a
do
curfew.
too. In Tocqueville, there's supposed to be dark skies after 11, isn't it?
Yes, 11. Okay. Any other comments on that? Okay, that brings us to the end of the meeting. I would
Motion to adjourn?
have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. I'll take a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Here we go. At 7:24.
You just want to do that.
You're the one- here, you